unboxing of King's Quest VI. One of my favorite King's Quest games, made by Sierra back in, I guess, around 93. This, I think, was one of the better King's Quest games. And I figured we'd see what we've got in here. So, this was a game that was on CD and had the voices. So, right off the get-go, we have the game CD, which back then they really put in some effort with the actual CD design. We have a nice little insert here that actually has some information about the game. So, this just goes over basics of installing the game in MS-DOS or Windows. What's actually kind of interesting about this game, maybe I'll show in here, but there were two different versions, basically, again, of the characters. I think I had mentioned this previously in another video, but in Jones and the Fast Lane, which is another Sierra game, it had a CD version and a non-CD version. And in the CD version, the characters were completely different. Like, in the CD version, there was audio for the characters, and the character animations were completely different than the people and the characters used in the non-CD version, which to me made no sense. In this one, it's very similar, where the characters in the MS-DOS version look like a much lower resolution than the ones in the Windows version. So, I don't know. I mean, they would have two different art styles depending on if you were installing in Windows or MS-DOS. Saving your game. Yeah, the online tutorials. I like how they have to explain how people should save their games. For directions on how to save, please refer to the online tutorial. Now, back in those days, I feel like online had a different connotation to it. For one, it's a hyphenate here, but you'd have to, like, go with the dial-up modem. I don't know that there was really internet back in 93, but to allow for errors in judgment and creative exploration, we recommend you frequently save your game in progress, and that you save several different games from different points as you play. You will always want to save your game before encountering potentially dangerous situations. You should also save your game after you have made significant progress. You may name your saved games using standard English phrases. The fact that they have to explain that, you know. For example, if you are standing on a beach, you might call your game Standing on a Beach, or simply Beach. I mean, I guess, you know, it's good that they mention these things, because if not, I'd have just put in, like, asterisk, $QQ57. I figure that's a pretty descriptive save game. I mean, I don't know. Look everywhere. Thoroughly explore your surroundings. Open doors and drawers. Look closely at all objects you encounter, or you may miss important details which that you'll need to complete the game. That's true, actually. Zero was it? They would do that where it was possible to basically brick your game. In some cases where you would get into a situation where the only way out was if you had a specific item. For example, in this game specifically, there is a spot where you can actually get captured by some people, and they put you in a cage over a fire, and they basically are going to cook you, and unless you do something, you die, and it's the end of the game. The only way to get out of that situation is if you happen to previously, there's like this magic spell book, and there's something for creating rain, so you make this mixture and everything, and in order to create the rain, it has to be brought to a boil. So you make this thing and keep it in your pocket, and then when you're in this cage and it starts heating up, then it makes rain and it puts it out and you get out of that. But unless you did that, there would be no way to get out of that situation. So, anyways. They always like doing the hint books. I think that's part of the strategy of the game too, is the fact that they wanted you to be able to get yourself into a corner that you couldn't get out of. So, we'll put this back. And that's the disc. Now, we have a few things here. I feel like this is a guidebook that actually came along with this. It didn't have to be ordered separately, with a nice little insert. The startling truth revealed inside. The startling truth about Sierra revealed inside, with a free offer. Of course, a registration card. Interesting. You can actually get magazine interaction. I should look and see if it's possible to find some of those on eBay. I'm curious what's in them. The registration card. We have the hint book. Yep. Which, as you can see, if you watch the Leisure Suit Larry video I did, they've moved on from the encoding it in red, I think, because I mean, you're opening a hint book, you know, you're obviously looking for information, and I think too many people lost those little red decoders because they are harder to find online. Most of them are missing it. So, you can see a bit of a history on the different characters. Yes. Prince Alexander is the hero in this game. Princess Rosella, I think, was in 5. Get some information about the story. Which, this is information about the story that isn't in the actual game, so it's nice to get a little bit more story. I think it talks a little bit about the backstory too of what happened in 5. Well, this is a lot of story leading into the hint book. How this book works. The whole point of playing King's Quest VI is to discover the amazing secrets of the Green Isle and to solve the many and various puzzles you will find there. However, some puzzles may be so well hidden that you don't even know where to begin. If this is your first experience with an adventure game, the whole thing may seem strange and baffling to you. If you feel you're really stuck, look through this book until you find the question that best describes your problem. device, playing adventure games well. Look at everything and interact with everything and save often. Draw maps. Yeah, they always expected you to draw maps back in the day. And many games back then would actually have mazes built into the game. General questions. This is basic about changing the settings. Why do my inventory items keep vanishing? Answer, they don't. Because there are so many inventory items in this game, there are several pages of them and the inventory screen. To see the rest of your inventory, click on the button with the 2 arrows on it. Very straight to the point. Places of interest. So it gives you some general information. So I've washed up on this beach. I just keep wandering around. What am I supposed to do here? Look around. There are things you need here. Don't forget to look under and inside of things. You need 2 objects here. Where am I? Anyway, on a beach. Just kidding. Well, you actually are on a beach, but maybe you should ask someone. Ask several someones. So, it seems like you would get just basic hints rather than specific what you need to do. What am I supposed to do with the baby's tears? What do babies do well? No, not drooling. They cry. When you need to make them cry, you want their tears for the make rain spell. So, this is probably a bit better of a way of doing it where you just get hints, not so much answers. So, if you just need a point in the right direction, it would tell you, where do I get the swamp ooze? Fun fact, one of the early versions of this game actually had a game-breaking bug with regards to the swamp ooze, where when you would try to pick up the swamp ooze, the game would crash. That was nice. I remember being a kid playing that and coming to that scene and I just didn't know what to do. And back then, without the internet, when you had a version of the game that had a breaking bug like that, there really wasn't an easy solution. It's not like you could just go online and download the patch. You would have to, I don't even know what you would do. You'd have to, like, if you had a modem, connect up somewhere and try and connect that way, or you'd have to actually contact, I guess that's what you would do. Like, that's why you would have to do the registration card, and then you would fill out the registration card, then contact them and be like, yo, I'm using this version of the game and it crashes here all the time, and they would probably send you a disc or a new copy of the game that had the patch applied to it. Those were the dark old days. But, I mean, it goes both ways. On the one hand, it's like, well, you have to go through these hoops to try to get a patch. You'd have to fill out the registration card, mail it in, then contact them after they had registered you into their system, and then request support saying that the game was breaking, and then have them send you in the mail a copy of the patch or diskettes or whatever. That was the one end of the spectrum. Now it's updates come for games whether you want them to or not, and if you have Steam running, it'll just download, and it's not little patches anymore. A lot of the time it's like, oh, there's been some games where it's like they needed to make a small tweak, but they messed something up, so it re-downloads all of the textures. So what should have been like a few kilobytes of a download is now like 30 gigs because you're re-downloading stuff that you didn't have to. There's something to be said for efficiency in packaging games these days. Anyways, after you finished the game, did you try using the flute on Alexander? Using the mechanical nightingale on Alexander? walkthrough. Okay, so you have, this is better. You have a section with hints where they're not really gonna fully spoil everything, but then you get to a point where you just tell me exactly what to do. It says, okay, use the hand icon on this, do this. Doesn't really talk about points though, at least not yet. Points started becoming less of a relevant thing as time went on. People were just in it for the story, really, but here you go. So you could see the points that you would get for each thing. If you were trying to go for the 100% completion. Easiest path, minimum points. Oh yeah, 116. Oh, this would be helpful. A map of the, so they have the maze that's in there. They have the Minotaur Slayer. Or the catacombs, I guess they call it. I did not have a map going through this as a kid. I think I wrote something out basically trying to document it myself. But very helpful to have a map. So that's the hint book, which happened to be included in this version. This is not an original, this isn't like a 1.0 release of it. I think this is a much later version of it. Imagination. This, what is this? This is about their online service. With chatting with other people. You know, you really gotta give props to the Sierra, as they were really at the forefront of doing all this stuff. Before anybody else was really getting involved in this, with trying to be involved in the internet first thing, and they were one of the first companies to embrace using CDs and having the audio in their games and trying to get involved in the online landscape. To have this area, the internet back in those days was, there was something more magical about it. Everything these days looks very sterile. But back then, things were pretty wild, with different designs of sites and anyways, you could play games with friends online, getting help. So if you had access to this network, you might have been able to get patches for games too. And they had the monthly subscription for it. The guidebook to the land of the Green Isles. This had some information too, with more story about the story thus far. Just a little bit more of the history. There wasn't really much in here about, at least I don't think there was much in here about the gameplay or what you needed to do. The Isle of Wonder. Imagine a place where the very path beneath your feet might complain of your weight, and the trees purposely drop twigs on your head for the sheer merriment of it all. And you'll have an idea what it's like to be on the Isle of Wonder. Talking about the different islands. Actually, I don't know that this gave away the ancient ones. Those are the ones I think. No, maybe not. I was wondering if those were the ones that try to cook you over a fire. The different symbols. Yeah, this was actually helpful with one of the puzzles, because you had a puzzle where you had to scale a mountain by answering riddles, by clicking various symbols, and I wonder if it was like a form of copy protection, because some of the answers, all the answers I think were relating to elevating or ascending. I think one of the answers is ascend, and one of them's rise, and I think a couple other words like that. But at least you would have this that would let you know what each of the letters were. Yeah. Yeah, see, it even would give you a little clue about it here. The first challenge, only those pure of heart will be able to rise the cliffs of logic. So, ascend, yeah. So there was some of these as clues. Just a few clues, not as much as the hint book, obviously, but a little bit about more of the lore of the game. It's a nice little guidebook. Not as obviously to the point as like a regular hint book, but would give you at least something to start with. What else? Win $50,000 for college from Sierra. This was for kids to apparently have Sierra pay your tuition. That's pretty amazing, actually. I mean, what game company does this now? Is there any that would do something like this? And of course, this is. Wait a minute. I think I have 2 copies of this. I do. Just in case. I have a second warranty registration card. Which, you know, I think, considering you don't have to put in like an actual serial number or something in here, these registration cards could be valuable in a sense of offering support to people that maybe didn't buy the game. If you had an extra one. Anyways. And finally we have about technical support. And the hint lines for just 75 cents per minute. Get game hints to get you out of a jam. Back when you would have these phone numbers that you could call. 75 cents a minute to get a couple. Then mostly I think the hints would be right out of that book, or just spend $10 and get an actual book. But there you have it. That is all that was in the King's Quest 6 boxed edition. So I'm gonna pack this up. So that's all that's in this boxed edition of King's Quest 6. Again, I don't think this was the original box.